All right, joining us now to speak more about the president's visit in the Middle East is Omar Badar. He is the deputy director of the Arab American Institute. Omar, thanks for joining us. And Omar, what is your reaction to the president's trip to the Middle East? Was it a success?
I mean, look, from Trump's perspective, it may very well be a success in the sense that he is just absolutely drowning deeper and deeper in scandals here within the United States. So he's avoided any controversy. You know, he's offered nothing but platitudes, offered nothing of substance or consequence. So in a sense, he avoided controversy. Maybe that's good for him. But for people who are interested in moving any kind of peace process forward, I think this was a complete flop because none of the core issues were addressed in any way at all. I think the primary core issue being Israel's occupation of the Palestinian territories and denial of Palestinian rights. That's the core issue that keeps peace from moving forward. And if you compare Trump's approach with Obama's approach, I mean, when Obama was giving speeches in the Middle East, he was opposing settlements, opposing the occupation, referencing the 1967 borders. And even when it came to the UN vote on settlements, Obama allowed it to pass because he wanted to go down on the right side of history, but ultimately he was never willing to put any meaningful pressure to end the occupation. And so in a sense, Obama did not go far enough, and Trump is not even going nearly as far as Obama has. So I see nothing really promising coming out of this.
And yet, Abbas seems to be saying that there's reason for hope and optimism, unless you think that these are just empty words. Is that your view?
No, my sense is that Abbas is basically in no position that anybody can envy. He's got no cards left. I mean, the entire Palestinian authorities rule really is, you know, their legitimacy is gone down significantly in the Palestinian territories. As an authority that has bent over backwards, accommodating every Israeli demand, collaborating on security, but ultimately not being able to deliver anything meaningful to the Palestinians. The occupation just entrenched further and further. And I think at this point, all Abbas has left is to appeal to the ego of President Trump in the hopes that the president would actually take some kind of meaningful steps to push an agreement forward, you know, appealing to his sense of grandeur that he might be the person who can pull this off.
Omar, as a gesture of goodwill, what concessions are the Palestinians willing to make?
Frankly, I think that question is a bit backwards in the sense that when you have a relationship between an occupier and an occupied population, when you have an aggressor and a victim, asking what concessions the victims need to offer in order to push things forward, I think is asking the wrong
Omar,
question.
that is, of course, a matter of perspective. The president has called for the end of inciting violence. The Palestinians, as we know, are still financially rewarding the families of terrorists. Is that not at least an initial step that Abbas can do, can stop financially rewarding and inciting violence and terrorism?
Look, first, incitement in general is a problem that exists on both sides, and I think it's ultimately a symptom of the conflict, not the driving cause of it. But frankly, this argument that the Palestinian Authority is financially rewarding terrorists, it's framed in such a way in Israeli government talking points that gives people the false sense that the Palestinian Authority is out saying, if you commit an act of terrorism, we're going to give you money. This is not at all what is actually taking place.
But that is what is happening.
That is not what is happening at all. What is actually happening is the Palestinian Authority has a system of welfare that happens to cover the family members of any family that loses a breadwinner.
The policy is the bigger the killing, the bigger the financial reward. Unfortunately, that is the policy that incites the violence.
Incorrect. That is absolutely factually incorrect. That does not exist anywhere.
Well,
what Israel is demanding is that when a father commits an act of terrorism, that the children should be punished by having their welfare checks cut. And I don't think that this is honestly a reasonable way to go about things. But even if you wanted to make that argument, even if you wanted to go in that direction, it seems to make a lot more sense to try to hold the Israeli government accountable for the atrocities that the Israeli military commits, which are documented by every human rights organization, and to demand the same. But you don't hear anybody demanding that the Israeli military
Well, we do hear the Israeli government, though, holding themselves accountable. But look, you've raised an interesting point, and I think Michelle's point is also valid here. So here's what we'll do. We'll go through and we'll try to find some independent analysis of whether or not these are payments for terrorists or whether this is some sort of welfare help, and then we'll invite you back on, and you can come on and we can discuss it further, because that is a very important point in all of this. Omar Badar. Omar, thanks for joining us. We appreciate it.
Thank you.